Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Amy here. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. I think I did it last year. I'm pretty sure I did it last year. If I did, I'll link it down below so you can check out what my last year favorites were. But I think this is fun just to kind of see where you're at in the year. We're beginning like the second half of the year, so it's fun to go back and just see how the first half of the year was like. There's like 13 questions. I don't know if they're the same. I don't remember. Probably so, or somewhere around the same. I just pulled it off of someone's random YouTube channel that that did a 2021 freakout tag. I haven't watched any because I don't want to be influenced by their books. I want to, you know, like just have my mindset of books and answer the questions truthfully without having like a little nugget in the background being like, oh, but you did like this book too. Even though I still kind of have that, but anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. Too much caffeine today? I don't know. I'm finishing off the little bit of my green tea from Barnes & Noble Starbucks Cafe. How pretty. I don't know if y'all can see it, but I loved the cup. This is the Trenta cup, and it's got like a little coffee and the big and sign, and then Barnes & Noble's Cafe, and then the Starbucks. I've never seen this one before, so I don't know if this is like a new thing they're going to be doing. Last bit of my green tea, gonna be sipping on that. All right, let's hop into this, because like I said, it's 13 questions. It's a lot. I'm gonna try not to talk too much about the books. Keyword try. So let's see how this goes. All right, the first question is, best book you've read so far in 2021. I wrote down 3 because it was hard to choose. I was gonna do just like 2 from my top favorite genres, which are mystery thrillers and male romances. But I had 2 like sort of mystery thriller suspense ones that really stood out in my mind. The first one is The Night Swim by Megan Golden. I was super impressed with this book. I waited on it for far too long. This came out last summer, and I just read it like at the beginning of this year, and I was just super impressed with it. I also learned that I love a podcast within a book, and that's what this is. Which brings me to my next book, which is Sadie by Courtney Summers. This one gave me Up and Vanished feels. I don't know if you know that podcast, or if you know podcaster Payne Lindsay. He's phenomenal. He has a couple podcasts out. If you haven't listened to Up and Vanished, it's really, really good. I think there was like an Oxygen show on it. And he's done some other ones. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Recently, you'll hear me talk about it in my wrap up, because I wrote down some podcasts that I was listening to because I was in a podcasty mood this month, or in June actually. What was it called? Radio Rental or something like that. It's phenomenal. Anyway, back to the books. This is also a podcast and a book, and this reminded me very much of like that sort of podcast. I listened to this on audio as well as The Night Swim. I highly recommend the audio for both of these books. What?
That's one battle from our roof.
Oh. Definitely in this one you get the whole like him walking and like crunching on the gravel kind of thing, and just background noise when you get to the podcast part of the story. But then you're also following Sadie and her story. Phenomenal audio. Has a cast of characters, and the same goes with The Night Swim. So it was tough to choose between the 2. I guess if I had to choose, probably this one, but this one wasn't far from it. I really loved both of these books this year. And then the other one that has been my favorite so far is When You Come Back to Me by Emma Scott. I'll put a picture of it here. This is a male romance. This is this is in a series that she's doing. I don't remember the name of the series. I didn't write it down, but this is the only male romance in the series. I think there's 2 other books. There's one before it and then 1 or maybe 2 after it. It made me want to, it made me want to read these other books. Just because you meet the other characters in this book, and you get to know them and love them, and you want to know more about them and their story and where they're coming from. But I absolutely love this story. It was, I don't know, there was something about it that just, it was deep, it was intense. I loved our characters, all the characters, our main characters, our 2 men that we follow, and then of course the other characters in the background. That's what I'm saying. It made me want to read the rest of the series because I fell in love with all the characters in this book. So I really liked it. Question number 2, best sequel you've read so far in 2021. I haven't really read a lot of sequels. Although, I mean, there have been some. A lot of the male romances that I read are in a series for some reason. But my absolute favorite for this year so far, and it was recommended by a good many of y'all to me, it's Heated Rivalry. This is by Rachel Reed. I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure it's Rachel Reed. This is the 2nd book in the, it's a gay sports romance. Loved this book. I read the first one as well and loved it, but this one, and y'all told me, y'all were like, you are gonna love Heated Rivalry. So I jumped into it, and yeah, y'all were right. I absolutely love these 2 guys. It was like a hate to love kind of thing, but they like played off of each other. Like they really did like want to hate each other, but they really did love each other, and it just made the relationship that much more intense and hot, and just, oh, I loved it. Number 3, new releases you haven't read yet but want to. I have a good many of them, but some newer ones that just popped off the top of my head. One of them is The Plot by Jean Heff Corlitz. Have not read this yet. I picked it up, I believe, last month or the month before. Just heard really good things about it. I believe it's about like a teacher that ends up taking the plot from one of his students that have passed away, and I don't know, but I heard it's good. I want to read it, so it's on my list, as well as this is a very recent purchase. This is Bathhouse. I actually haven't even hauled this for y'all yet. This is by PJ Vernon. It's a new thriller that came out in June. It just sounds really intriguing and fun. It's about like this gay bathhouse, and I believe some bad things have happened in this house that has affected one of our characters that we're going to follow, affected him as well as his relationship with his partner. I don't know, it sounds twisted and good, and I can't wait to get into it. And then also, I recently talked about this book as well. This is Wrath by Ella James. This is actually coming off of her series, the On My Knees series. It was a duet. It is now a series because it has 3 books: Worship, Adore, and Communion. Love that series. I highly recommend it. But I think you can jump into Wrath without reading those, although you do meet this character at the end of Communion, but we don't get a lot about this character in Communion. So she kind of just leaves us hanging with this character, this new character that she puts into the book, and we're like, wait, well, who is he? And what is he doing here? What is his purpose? Why aren't you telling us about him? But his book, this is his book, Wrath, and it just sounds hot and steamy, and I'm ready for it. I believe it's like a stepbrother kind of relationship, enemies to lovers. I don't know. I'm here for it. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have a couple of these. They're all very recent, except for one that's not coming out until December. But of course, the first one is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I am looking very much forward to reading this book. I ordered it for my book of the month. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a book of the month pick, but it was an add-on. So yeah, of course I got it. So I can't wait for this one. It's set back in the early 1990s, I believe. It has to do with a girl and a guy in a car, and the guy may be a serial killer. So, and then The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I love the way Grady Hendrix writes. His books are so much fun. They're also kind of set in the 80s and the 90s. I love that vibe in a book. I actually do not know what this book is about. I haven't read anything on it. I saw the cover, fell in love with the cover, saw it was by Grady Hendrix, and that's all I needed to know. It went on my list. So yeah, so I don't know much about it. We're not going to get into it here. Maybe in a later video we'll talk more about it. But yes, I'm definitely looking forward to that book. And then Lauren Blakely is coming out with another male romance little series. I don't know how many books they're going to be, but for sure we get 2 books, one in July and one in August. In July we get, and it's very recently too, I have it written down, it's coming out on the 7th of July. The series is called Men of Summer. The first book is Scoring with Him. The second book is Winning with Him. I think I'll be putting them up here, but yeah, just really excited for these male romances, because I fell in love with her male romance that I read last year. A guy walks into my bar or something like that, and then there I think there was 2 of them. Anyway, they were both great. Loved them. I love the way she wrote them. I can't wait to read these. Again, don't know what they're about. Men of Summer. That's all I know. And then lastly, as far as I know, I didn't really dive too deep into this category. I just kind of like was picking off of my list that I have saved as far as like what I'm looking forward to, and this was one of them, but it's again not till December, and it's Here's to Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This is actually the sequel to What If It's Us. Here's to Us. What If It's Us I read a couple years ago. Really, really cute, sort of young adult, I guess, male romance. They're more like a finishing, like it's the summer before they go to college, something like that. So this is kind of the continuation of Ben and Arthur's story from the first book. I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't read the first book, but I loved What If It's Us, so I'm looking forward to the sequel. All right, number 5 is Biggest Disappointment, and Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. I wanted to love this book so much, but I just didn't. I can't even remember really any details to tell you about this. That's how much it meant to me. I know it has to do with a woman and her fiance. They get married and they go to like this secluded island, and they're like completely by themselves except for like other men. There's like one other couple there. It turns very culty, but in a bad kind of culty way. It's not a good cult. That sounds funny. No cult is good, but there's ways you can write a cult. There's good ways and there's bad ways. This was very, very bad. Very, very, very bad, in my opinion. Anyway, I think I gave it like a 2 or 2.5 star. It had so much good potential. The first part was somewhat okay. I did get a little bored about hearing nothing but like this girl's life and her, what she did, the bad thing that she did, and the secret that she was keeping. I got a little bored with it, and then it gets a little bit more interesting after they get married and they start going on the honeymoon, and then these weird things start happening, and then it just gets weirder and weirder, and then it just shatters. Question 6, biggest surprise, and that would be The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain. I was super, super surprised by this book. It took me a very long time to pick it up and read it because it's not exactly a book that I would go for. This is more of like just a contemporary type of fiction book. This is between like a mother and her daughter, and the love that a mother has for her daughter. It also deals with time travel. So it was very intriguing, and I could not put it down or take the earbuds out because I did listen to this. The audio is fantastic. Highly recommend it. You can feel the way our character feels through our narrator's voice. It's that intense, and I just surprisingly just really loved it. Like I said, it's not something that I normally pick up. I'm more mystery, thriller, male romance kind of girl over here, but I mean, I will try anything, but usually if it's different, I sit on it a while until I'm like, let's give it a go. Question number 7 is new favorite author, and this is whether it's a debut author or a new to me author as far as this year goes. I wrote down 2 new authors that I've discovered this year, and that is Aramis Jordan, who wrote Escaping the Merman. I was really fascinated by that book. I really, really enjoyed it. It's more along the lines of like fantasy type male romance. Has to do with mermen and real men in general. It was just fascinating and interesting, and I fell in love with our 2 characters as well as like some of the other characters along the way. It was very well written. It wasn't, I'm not a big type of fantasy reader. Again, I will read it, but usually I sit on it for a while, but they were kind enough to send me the arc of this book, so I immediately jumped into it and just fell in love with it. So yeah, I can't wait to see what else they put out. And then second, Elsie Rawson, who wrote Camp. I loved this book, loved it so much, and I loved all the characters in the book. It was just so well written, and it made me want to like just jump in the page and go to camp with these guys. I loved it. I loved it so much. So yeah, those are my 2 new discovered authors of the year so far. Question 8 is newest fictional crush. So many. But the one that always pops into my head, of course this isn't new. I think I answered this one last year, but Joe from the You series, he will always be my favorite villain and my favorite character. There's something about him that I just love. But even though I did read Love Me More, is that the name of it? I can never remember the name of it. But anyway, even though I did read the 3rd book in the You series this year, Joe is not a new to me character. So I chose Holden Parrish from the When You Come Back to Me book by Emma Scott in her little series. He was, I fell in love with him from like just a couple pages in, because he's so deep and dark, but he puts on this front, and he kind of like has this like arrogant feel to him, but he's really not. He comes from money, so he like doesn't pay attention to like what he's doing. Like I loved when he was staying with his aunt and uncle during like his senior year at this new school. he just like went shopping. He didn't care like what the cost was of anything. Just like picking out all kinds of stuff. And I don't know, that it wasn't like he was being arrogant about it. It's just that's how he grew up. Like money was no object. And I just loved the way his character just kind of flowed throughout the book, and I wanted to be his friend, if anything. I mean, unfortunately, we play for the same team, so, and I'm married, but I mean, I can have a little crush from the sidelines. But I just loved his character. He was deep and dark and tortured, so tortured. He had such a dark past, and I just wanted to hug him and take care of him. But yeah, Holden is my favorite, my crush so far this year. And then question number 9 is newest favorite character. I have 2 new favorite characters from 2 new favorite books, recent favorite books, and that is, I'm not sure how you say his name because he's the merman in Escaping the Merman. He's our main merman in this book. His name is Arian. I loved how big his heart was. He was such, even though he's supposed to be like, mermen are supposedly these, bad creatures, Arian had such a big heart. I'd really like to listen to this book. If there's an audio out there, I'd love to listen to this. I'd love to get a feel of his character because I loved him. He was just so innocent. I mean, not innocent in innocent way, but he just seemed innocent to like the real world and just to love in general. And he really loved this other man, Fernando. I don't know, he had such a big heart, and I don't know, I just fell in love with the merman. And then my second character is Randy from camp. He was just so much fun. So Randy is more on the flamboyant side of gay, but he was wanting to get the attention of another guy at the camp who only goes for like other masculine type guys. So Randy decides he's going to become Dale. So the mask version of Randy is Dale. So he like pumped himself up over the school year to get ready for camp to get this other guy's attention. And he was just fun, and he just had fun with everything. Even though he's more of like a theater character, he was more into theater, makeup, nail polish, bright colors. He had fun with being Dale and like going through all the sporting events at the camp, and I had a fantastic time following him around with his friends. I loved George. There was a character, Mark, I believe was like one of the camp counselors. So much fun. But yeah, Randy he was just a fun character. I just had the best time. Question number 10 is book that made you cry. Okay, I'm a crier. I cry for anything. I could just be sitting here minding my own business, my thoughts get away from me, and I start crying. That's happened to me many times, like sitting in a doctor's office or somewhere very unusual to be crying. So yeah, it doesn't take much, but I picked 5 books. I wrote down 5 books. The first one being The Haunting of Bryn Wilder. This is by Wendy Webb. This was a book I read at the beginning of the year, I believe for Winterween. There was something about it, and now that I like look back on this book, was it really that sentimental? I would have to reread it, I guess, but at the moment I sobbed over this book, like the ending of this book, and like what it really meant, what the haunting really meant. It was, I think I described it as a haunting love story is what it basically was. And yeah, I sobbed like a baby at the end. And then, of course, When You Come Back to Me by Emma Scott. I cried randomly throughout this book just because Holden is such an intense character, and he's just right here. He's right here for me. I cried so much for him because he had such a hard time giving himself to love, especially when he, finds that love. He has a hard time giving himself to that person. And I also felt for this other person because he's just like, he knows he's gay, but he hasn't like come out about it. So that's always hard, and I can't even imagine what that would be like. But yeah, I cried just randomly throughout that book. And then Communion, of course. This is from the On My Knees duet or series. Just that whole series is heartfelt, because I don't want to give it away, because that's the main part of why it's so heartbreakingly sad. But yeah, all three of those books had me like just dying in tears. And then, of course, The Dream Daughter, the love. Like I said, you can feel the love that this mother has for her daughter. So intense. And then lastly, this is a more recent read that I haven't even talked to y'all about, but one of y'all out there have told me to read it because I put on I think it was my new video for new male romances that were coming out, and Ache was one of them by who is it? Marley Valentine. And one of y'all told me, you know who you are, thank you. Y'all told me to read Without You. And I think you told me the audio too. Anyway, it was available on Hoopla from my library, so I jumped on it. And oh my goodness, it was read by at least one of my favorite male romance narrators, Teddy Hamilton, who also narrated the Him and Us series. So good, so much grief in that book. These two characters just like broke me. They broke me. You'll hear more about it soon in my wrap up. Question 11, book that made you happy. Most recently, Camp. I had the funnest time with this book. And Fools. This is the third book in the Lickin' Thicket series. This was my favorite book in that series. I really liked book 1. Book 2 was okay. But book 3, loved it. One of our main characters, Dunn, he was, or he is, or whatever you want to go by, he's hilarious. Hilarious. I had the best time reading his character and following along with how, he's fallen in love with his best friend. It was so much fun. Those two books definitely, just off the top of my head, I knew those two made me happy. Question number 12 is most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or have been given. And that's gonna have to go to, I haven't really looked, but you can't get more beautiful than this book right here. Look at those colors. And I'm in love with the green bug on the back. Yeah, like I said, I haven't really looked. But this was the first one that popped in my head because I'm a floral kind of girl. Beautiful flowers. This is a beautiful, like, purplish blue book. I don't know, like a midnight blue. I don't know. It's beautiful. I'm in love with it. And then lastly, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? All of them. I did not make a list for this because I think I'm gonna do a separate video on this. I'll probably do a second video on new releases as well, for upcoming books in the future for this year, because I didn't really look too far into that category either. But yeah, this will probably be a video of what books I definitely for sure want to get through to the end of this year. That I'll just have to dig a little bit more deeper into that. But yeah, it will be coming soon. But yes, all the books. I mean, whatever I can get in. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but stay tuned for that one. That's all the questions for the mid-year freakout tag. Let me know down below. And y'all can answer some of the questions if y'all want. Let me know down below what all of these books mean to you, or what books and whatever characters you're loving. What are your favorite characters? What are your favorite books so far? Let me know all the things in the comments down below. We can talk about it. As always, thank y'all so much for watching. Hope y'all are all doing well out there. Hugs from me all around. I will be coming out with my wrap up very, very soon. I'm trying to get together with Debbie because as you know, in June we read some books together, so we want to do that wrap up together for y'all. But I'll probably do a separate wrap up of all the other books that I read / listened to in the month of June, because there was a lot. So I don't want one big long video. I'll make 2 separate videos for y'all. So those will be coming up. So look for those very, very soon. And I will see y'all then. Bye, y'all.